going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and in this video we got a lot to talk about. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and dump. Yeah, that was from last night. I really wish I would have filmed a hell of a lot more than I did because it was pretty damn crazy. The first thing that I want to talk about in this video is dealing with the two guys who escaped from the prison transport bus down in Georgia, who just a few days ago were apprehended in Tennessee. How these guys weren't killed, I have no idea. But the story that surrounds the apprehension of these two individuals, well, it's pretty insane. These two guys made their way from Georgia up to Tennessee, where allegedly they both have like family up there. Now, when I heard this, I just couldn't even believe that this is where these two guys would decide to go, considering that really should have been like the last place they were thinking about going, because in the minds of the feds and everybody else who was probably chasing after these guys, Tennessee is definitely the first place they're going to look, considering these guys are like from there. But that is where they decided to try to make their run to, and while traveling up the East Coast, they even passed through the old state of Virginia, where I'm at and After Prison Show is located. But in the process of trying to make their way to Tennessee, these guys actually broke into the home of a married couple, tied these people up at gunpoint, and told them, "We have already killed and we're not scared to do it again." In fact, they went on to say, "Because we're going to be dead in probably 24 hours, and we're going to take out as many officers as we can before they take us out." Can you imagine being in your home and seeing two people breaking into your home with guns, and these two individuals breaking into your home are the faces that have been plastered all over the news of this past week, who escaped from a prison bus, killing two correctional officers in the process of that, and these guys tying you up and telling you that they're not scared to kill again because they're probably going to be dead soon themselves. I honestly cannot imagine what that must have been like for those homeowners, but thankfully they did survive this and actually played a big part in the apprehension of these two escapees. While these two individuals were inside of these people's homes, they were eating their food, they were stealing things from them, and when they decided to leave, they actually stole one of their vehicles, leaving this married couple tied up inside of their own home. This married couple was actually able to free themselves, call 911, and from there an all points bulletin was put out on the vehicle, and I guess a short while later the police caught up with this vehicle. A chase ensued where these escapees were actually firing out the window at the police before wrecking the vehicle that they had stolen, and then made their way running off into the woods. It's reported that the local residents heard all of this commotion, probably heard the police sirens, maybe even police on bullhorns, yelling out to these guys who were running, "Freeze! Stop! We're gonna kill you!" And maybe also police were yelling through this bullhorn saying, "Hey, look, local residents, lock your doors, stay inside. Prison escapees are right here." I'm guessing it must have went some way like that, because one resident called his neighbor and told his neighbor, "Hey, look, there's these prison escapees right here near our property. Be on high alert because these individuals are right here." And it was a man by the name of Patrick Hale who received this phone call from his neighbor being alerted of this situation, who then said that he loaded up every single weapon inside of his home, took his small daughter outside of their home, got inside of the car, and began to back up when he saw these individuals running basically right at him. He said that these prison escapees were waving their t-shirts over their head and then ended up laying belly down right in his driveway in an effort to surrender themselves. I'm guessing for whatever reason they decided that they just didn't want to be killed at this point, which really doesn't make a lot of sense to me, considering the fact that where they killed these two correctional officers in the state of Georgia, Georgia does have the death penalty. And I can assure you that in this case, when these two individuals are tried for the murder of these correctional officers, the state of Georgia is definitely, most certainly, probably 100% guaranteed going to be seeking out the death penalty against these two guys. And there also was a reward for information leading to the arrest of these guys, a $130,000 reward for information leading to these guys' arrest. And this individual by the name of Patrick Hale actually had these two guys laying face down in his driveway with guns drawn on them. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be getting a nice reward for that. There are still details that are unknown in relation to this case, like how these individuals were able to unlock and get through the cage inside of the prison bus, Because when you're loaded on a prison bus, it's pretty much like being loaded up into a cell on wheels. There really is no way to get out of this thing from the inside. So there really are still a lot of questions surrounding this case that there aren't answers for just yet. But I will be very interested to learn just how these two guys were able to get through this cage where they were then basically able to take over this prison bus. This next story that I want to tell you about, I just stumbled upon this story and I have to tell you, this story really pisses me off. And I can promise you that when you hear of this, you're going to be just as pissed off as well. Before even diving into this story, I do want to bring up that piece of shit pedophile, Austin Jones, because his story is kind of similar to this story that I'm about to tell you. Austin Jones was arrested and charged with 2 counts of child pornography. Young little 14-year-old girls sending him sexually explicit videos. And on my Instagram, I actually have a video that he sent to a young girl where he was basically trying to show this young girl how to twerk. I'm quite sure that if he does go to prison, well, it's a good thing that he knows how to twerk going into a situation like that. Because he most certainly will be twerking those little Junie cakes when he gets there. I bring up all of that because of what this next story is about, and I have to tell you this first. This story is a hell of a lot worse than the Austin Jones case. But down in Houston, Texas, there was this police officer who worked in a middle school around a bunch of 14-year-old girls. I have no idea what is wrong with people and their fucking fascination with young little 14-year-old girls, but that is some pretty fucked up shit if that's what your fetish is. But there was this police officer by the name of Jacob Ryan Delgadillo. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce his last name, but that's how I'm pronouncing it. Jacob Ryan Delgadillo, who was a cop who worked in a middle school around a bunch of little 14-year-old people. And I guess while working there, he became infatuated with one of these little 14-year-old girls. And with that fascination, he took his phone out, showed this girl pictures of himself on the phone that I guess were like nudes or half nudes or whatever. I'm not exactly sure, but I do know from showing that girl the pictures, he ended up in a school bathroom with this 14-year-old girl where she performed oral sex on him. A cop and a 14-year-old girl in a middle school bathroom. This guy was charged with 2 counts of indecency with a minor. And when I tell you how this case played out, you are not going to fucking believe this. But when these allegations first arose, this guy, Jacob Ryan Delgadillo, this cop, he actually resigned from the force, probably went into his sergeant's office and said, "Here is my badge, here is my gun, and here is my phone full of all my child pornography and dick pics that I like to give to little 14-year-old girls. Here, you can have it. I'm sorry. I'm no longer worthy of being a cop." He resigned from the police force where he would then face these charges, 2 counts of indecent liberties with a minor, went to court for these charges, pled guilty to this, did not try to fight this, dispute it, anything like that. He probably had to get on the stand and say, "Your Honor, I am guilty. I am a sexual predator monster piece of shit. I belong on MSNBC Locked Up or Dateline exclusive How to Catch a Predator because I am a sick piece of shit." I'm sure he didn't say anything quite like that, though he probably should have. But he goes to court, pleads guilty to these allegations, which are a hell of a lot more than just some allegations. And what do you think the verdict and the outcome in this case was? How much time do you think they gave this sexual predator monster piece of shit pedophile? How much time do you actually think they gave him? 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 6 months? Well, if you guessed any of the above, I have to tell you, unfortunately, and I don't even know how, but you're wrong. In fact, this guy was not sentenced to not 1 single day in jail. Not one. He was instead sentenced to 5 years of probation, where the stipulations of his probation were as follows. For 5 years, he has to restrain, refrain, and just stay the fuck away from any little small people, young people, and 14-year-old girls especially. Those were the stipulations of his probation. To any normal person in this fucking world, those are some pretty easy stipulations. Maybe to this guy, Jacob Ryan Delgadillo, maybe those stipulations won't be so easy. What if he violates his probation? I mean, the only way he could violate his probation, well, it would probably pertain to some pretty fucked up shit. And if you think the fact that this guy did not get not near fucking day in jail or prison, if you think that is the worst of this, well, that's part of the worst of this, but there's more worst of this as well. Yes, in fact, it does get worse. And the way that it does is because of not only the fact that he didn't get not near single day to be locked up, he doesn't even have to register as a sex offender. How in the fuck is that possible? You were in a middle school bathroom with a 14-year-old girl getting some fucking dome as a police officer, as somebody who young people and people in general are supposed to look to as like some sort of beacon of safety, and you don't go to jail and you don't even have to register as a sex offender. I'm trying to wrap my mind just around the fact of how could the prosecution even think that this was like an okay plea bargain at all? Hey, look, I'm just going to need you to go ahead and plead guilty to the fact that you got your in the middle school bathroom, this little 14-year-old girl over here, and if you do so, you won't go to jail for not one day. We'll give you 5 years of probation, and you don't even have to register. What do I got to do to be a judge? I'm going to have to Google that. I want to be a judge. Make After Prison Show the new sheriff in town, because I'm telling you, every single fucking day, I'm running across stories that just absolutely amaze and, no pun intended, but literally blow me the fuck away. It is absolutely unbelievable what's going on across this country and around the world these days, especially in the jails, in the prisons, and in the court system as well. Jacob Ryan Delgadillo virtually got away with murder, where individuals with drug charges or lesser charges are getting tried and found guilty and basically being sentenced like they are actually murderers. Where is that common ground where this actually makes any fucking sense whatsoever? Because I'm just not seeing it. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about it. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!